Hello and welcome to the Bad Gaming Guys, episode 1 of what I'm going to be calling Gaming Faux Pas. And today, the discussion is going to be about whether Final Fantasy VII is actually any good. Now, it's no secret to anyone who knows me or Paris, we're not a big fan of JRPGs, and the Final Fantasy series is the pinnacle of JRPGs. So I'm going to discuss sort of my first impressions of playing Final Fantasy VII, because I've never played it before, which I'm led to believe is actually quite a gaming faux pas in its own. Of most people would expect a gamer to play and like Final Fantasy VII, but that's the point of this episode, is to discuss whether Final Fantasy VII is actually as good as everyone says. When I first started, what took me by surprise was the graphics. You could tell early 3D graphics here. Of the 3D character design is wrong, just horrible. It's pointy, it's angular, but then again, it is a game from before 2000, so it's forgiven on that. But I like the backgrounds themselves are very well done. I like the way they did it because of limited technology. It was quite a sort of smart move on their part. Now, the combat, normally I find turn-based combats either really easy, as in literally you're so high above all the other enemies you can just hit them with one thing or two things, they die. But I found it quite challenging and fun to play. Strategy, often you could look at an enemy. What I found is you could look at an enemy and it would be, oh, that's the kind of thing I want to use, like robots. I used to use like electric attack, these dogs which look fiery, use my ice. So the combat itself seemed very intuitive, nothing overly complicated. I heard some JRPGs can get a bit overboard with their use of strategy. But, it's enjoyable, but I imagine you get further in and you have to wander around levelling up. It will no doubt be tedious. But there are a few niggly bits to do with controls. Obviously I'm playing on the PC version, but I assume it would be just as all good as getting on off of ladders, sudden change in what direction you have to move. It can cause a few bits where like you bump into things or you end up going back through an area you didn't mean to. But it's one of those things of, again, I think because of the limited technologies of the time, it's more forgivable. Don't know if a modern game did that, it would just get absolute terrible reviews for it. So, yet again, more combat. What I noticed is, it seems the larger the group, the weaker the entire group of enemies is. You know what I mean? So they balance that of, there's a large group, they're not all going to be high level enemies. See robots, so I use electric, kill them in one hit. But, yeah, it's enjoyable. That was the mechanic I liked. The fact that I got Cure as part of like a tutorial bit at the beginning of the game. I think that was a good addition. It's useful, particularly when it heals almost the entire health of all the characters. And it made him a bit more useful because he doesn't have massively useful repertoire of magic like Cloud does. Tifa, or whatever, however you pronounce it, she seemed a fairly useless character, even when I use her limit, which is like the super attack. She didn't do masses of damage, but the cure definitely. Though, see, she does about 32, and also does a punch and kick thing, so I suppose that's pretty good when the sword does 45. But it's the thing of, is it as good as everyone says? Now, obviously, I've only played about an hour and a half, 2 hours max of this so far. The story's pretty good. Combat's good, and I haven't really gotten lost yet. So I don't know. At the moment, I'm undecided on it. I think as a game of, if you want to get into Final Fantasy series, this does seem the most accessible game, because it sort of throws you straight in combat. It has a good story, as I said. The characters actually are pretty well written. They come across as they are, well, you would meet someone who would be like the big guy with the machine gun hand, Barrett or whatever he's called, and Cloud, he's like an angsty sort of young adult, and this woman, she's just, they're fairly well written considering the time and the fact that Square Enix aren't known for being the best with things. But there's not really much else to say story-wise. It seems like it's going to open up into quite an impressive game. As in, I think if they keep going the route they're going, and obviously I have heard something that happens a bit later past the point that I'm at, if they keep going down that route, the story is going to be very driving. You're going to play it and you're going to want to finish it to find out what happens at the end, what happens to these characters. It does feel like there's a little bit of lore you need to get into. A few people have mentioned, I don't know if they're referenced later on in the game and actually explain it to you, or whether it's one of those ones of you have to have played all the 15 Final Fantasies for all of it to make sense, because that would be a shame. I think it could be nice if it explains some things like Sephiroth explains he's a hero, but that's about it. Yeah, it's one of those things of, I don't know, I haven't played in the Final Fantasies, but from a completely non-bias, as I've gone into this, I'm not thinking JRPG. I've gone into this, I've never played it before, I've never played any Final Fantasy before. I didn't do any research about what the gameplay is like, how it plays. All I know is it's considered really good. So completely on the outside sort of viewpoint, I can say this game is going to be good. I know it's going to be good. I don't tend to sit and play a game for an hour and a half without stopping, without planning to. And I thought, hop on and take a look. So, I think it's going to be good. But is it going to be as good as everyone's saying? Because I don't think it is. I think it's the best Final Fantasy blah 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 a lot of people come out with. I feel it's going to be on a nostalgia basis. You get this a lot, particularly with that generation of games consoles. You get a lot of games that people go, oh, but I played it loads as a kid, so I love it. And that's the thing, I do get that with some games. Some games I play now and I'm like, oh, it's still good to this day. But I have some games I'll go back to as an adult that I played when I was a kid, and it's not as good as I remember, or it's much easier, or it's also got the other end of some games I find are even better now that I'm an adult. And it's the thing where I think the majority of the "it's an amazing game" is down to, yes, it is fairly good. As I said, I'm not a big fan of this style of gameplay, and I'm enjoying it, but it's nostalgia, I think, is the majority of it. I would like to see what happens at the end. I'll no doubt continue playing it and most likely finish it, and when I finish it, well, when or if I finish it, I'll probably do another video saying whether at the end of it I feel it's amazing or whether I feel it's just good. Because at the moment that's all it is to me, it's just good. I feel not a negative thing of the grinding, but I fear the grind, because it's the biggest problem I get, even with some Pokemon games. It's a real struggle when I have to grind to do it. It's not lack of commitment, it's not sort of not wanting to progress, it's just grinding in any game, even the best of games, it can be boring. And I would like to say I don't think it would happen in this game, but it probably will. In fact, it's even more likely because of the style of the game it is that it's going to get to the point where I'm going to face a boss and I'm just going to die, because I need higher level characters. So I think overall that's going to be the biggest thing that might ruin this game. Is if anything's going to ruin it, will be the grind. Grinding is, even the best of players don't like grinding. Now, I've played Pokemon games for years, and I even get bored with grind. Pokemon Y, I've come to a standstill on because I need it to grind up because my Pokemon aren't quite high enough. I go into the next bit, they all faint. I say in this bit it'll take ages to level up. So, when it comes down to it, from an initial impression of a couple hours playing, it's a good game, no doubt in that. It's got a good balance of story, the combat's fluid. You saw those encounters, they didn't last very long. I think the longest one was the gun turrets, and that's because of how many there were. But when it comes down to it, someone said, if someone asked me, oh, you can play FTL or Final Fantasy VII, you can only play one of them, I'd pick FTL. And FTL's really frustrating. It's just not got enough in it. Either it's because it's the beginning, or just because it's not massively my style of game, but it's not got enough in it to make it a amazing game for me. But hey, that's just my opinion. Until next time, this has been Benjamin from the Bad Gaming Guys.